Hi students, how are you all? So have you all finished your homeworks and study portion? So I hope you have finished. So if not, finish it. So let us start the next lesson, Unit 18. That is yearly resistance to British rule. Please take the book and check it over there. Take a pencil with you to write all the meanings. Okay, shall we start? Okay, let's see the introduction. The conquest of territories. So what before that, what is the early resistance of British rule? Early resistance means what? Resistance means எதிர்ப்புகள். Okay, what are the early resistance? Initial resistance to British rule. So once the British rule started, what are the resistance they faced? Okay, they faced by the people or by the others. That is about in this lesson. Okay, introduction. The conquest of territories and the expansionist policies of the British East India Company led to a series of rebellions of deposed kings or their descendants. Okay, the conquest of territory means the conquering the territories and the expansionist policies of the British. So in the last lesson we studied about their expansionist policies of the British East India Company. Expansionist policy means what? What are the things, what are the region they occupied? That is the expansion, how they expand their territory. So it leads to the it leads many of the other kings to start rebellion against the British East India Company. Okay, rebellion means what? Revolt. Okay, rebellion means revolts. Revolts means what? Outbreak, purachi. Okay, so why others they started rebellions against the British East India Company? Because they conquest the territory and the expansionists of their territories. Okay, the British East India Company lead to the series of rebellion, and here whom and all rebelled against the British East India Company? Deposed kings. Deposed kings means what? The king who dismissed from their services is called what? Deposed kings or their descendants. Descendants means what? Heirs. Heir means what? Varis, right? The descendant of the kings, deposed kings. Okay, they started the rebellions and Samindas and the Palekaras. Okay, so all these people they revolt against the British East India Company. Okay, then independent of such revolt were the uprising of the deposed peasants and the tribals, and also whom and all revolt? The peasants and the tribal people. Peasants means what? We know farmers, right? That is the peasants. So the tribals they were also started revolt against the British English East India Company. Okay, the rapid change introduced by the British in the agrarian relation and the land revenue system. See, in the last lesson we studied there is the many reforms in the agrarian and the in the revenue system and the administrative system, isn't it? It leads to the loss of the economic level in the society. So many of the peasants and the tribals also they were started revolt against the British. Okay, and so we discussed in the previous lesson about all. Then therefore, when the aggrieved erstwhile ruling class raised the standard of revolt, means who? The standard of ruling classes means the peasants and other people also they started the revolt because their economic policies were damaged, or all their economic policies were deprived. Okay, the support of the mass of peasants and the artisans was not lacking. Many of the peasants and the artisans they supported the king and their descendants, also their Samindas, to revolt against the British. Okay, so in this lesson we discussed the happening of that time in South India as well as the Great Revolt of 1857. Okay, so all these things we are going to study in this lesson. So first one is 18.1. Mysore Sultan and their resistance. How the Mysore Sultan they resisted again. They show their resistance means against whom? The British East India Company. Rise of Hyder Ali. So Mysore was a small feudatory kingdom under Vijayanagar Empire. What do you mean by feudatory? Feudatory means what? Nilaprabhu. Okay, means the king. Mysore means the region, the empire which owned a large region of land. Okay, that is called what? Feudatory. Everybody hold their own land. Feudatory kingdom under which empire? Vijayanagar Empire. After the Vijayanagar fell in 1565, the ruling dynasty of Vodayas asserted their independence. Okay, so when the Vijayanagar Empire fell in which year? 1565. The ruling dynasty of the Vodayar asserted their independence and the Raja Vodayar ascended the throne. So after that, who became the king? The Vodayar dynasty. And who became the king? Who ruled the kingdom? Vodayar dynasty ruled the kingdom and the Raja Vodayar ascended the throne. What do you mean by ascended the throne? Means became king. Who became king? Raja Vodayar became the king in which year? 1578. Okay, the capital moved from Mysore to, thus after once the Vodayar started the rule, they changed their capital from Mysore to Srirangapatnam. Okay, in which year? 1610. Vodayar dynasty continued to reach up to when they ruled until 1760. Okay, when the real power changed hands to till the power changed to move to Hyder Ali, Vodayar ruled the dynasty. Okay, Hyder's father Fita Muhammad was the Fajdar of Kolar. Who became the Fajdar of Kolar? Hyder's father Fita Muhammad. Okay, what do you mean by Fajdar or garrison commander? Fajdar means garrison commander. Garrison commander means what? Kaval Padai Dalabadi. Okay, that is the garrison commander of where? Kolar. After his death, Hyder's soldiery quality helped him to rise through the military ranks. Okay, so after the death of his father, Hyder improved their soldiery quality. Okay, and he got many military ranks. So by 1755, he had secured a powerful position commanding 100 horsemen and 2000 infantrymen. So by the year 1755, Hyder commanded 100 horsemen. Horsemen means what? Cavalry. Cavalry means what? Kudirai Padai. Okay, in Tamil. And 2000 infantrymen means what? Kalat Padai. Okay, so that is the horseman and infantrymen. So Hyder positioned all those things. Hyder suppressed an army mutiny in Mysore and restored the places of Mysore kingdom. So Hyder attacked, so the kingdom occupied by the Marathas were restored by Hyder. Okay, so he received because of his brave behavior, he received the title as Fita Hyder Bahadur, or what do you mean Fita Hyder Bahadur, which means the brave and victorious lion. Okay, so Fita Hyder Bahadur means the brave and victorious lion. Okay, in 1760, Hyder allied himself with the French at Pondicherry. Against him, whom? English. Okay, allied means he united. Okay, he united friendly with Pondicherry, French at Pondicherry. With whom? With French. At where? Pondicherry. Against. Why he allied with French? Because to British to oppose against the English. Okay, but his position at home was endangered by the plot engineered by the Marathas. But his position was endangered due to the Marathas. As Hyder successfully handled the situation, and thereafter he became not only the Dalawai but the de facto ruler of Mysore. But Hyder handled that position, means he fought with the Marathas and he won. So he became not only the Dalawai but he became the de facto ruler of Mysore. De facto means what? Nadamurayil ulla ruler. Okay, Nadamurayil de facto means ruler of Mysore. In 1770 the Mysore king Nanjaraja was poisoned to death and Hyder's hand was suspected. So in 1770 Mysore king was poisoned, and who became the suspect now? What do you mean by Sandegapadrathu? So who suspected? Hyder's became suspected. Okay, after Vodayas functioned only as the nominal ruler. Okay, so after that Vodaya functioned as the nominal ruler. So the real authority, who got the real authority? Hyder got the real authority. Okay, the Hyder Ali and the British. So after obtaining Diwani Rights means what? Diwan means what? The right to collect tax from the Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Means instead of the Mughal emperor, on behalf of the Mughal emperor, means instead of Mughal emperor, the Diwan have the rights to collect the tax directly from the people. That is the Diwani right. Okay, the company had to safeguard its territory. As the company was not strong enough, it avoided interfering with the internal affairs to the Indian state. So the company was not strong enough to fight with the Mysore king, okay, the Hyder. So he avoided interfering with the internal affairs of the Indian state. Okay. The company was, however, drawn towards the affairs of the Carnatic due to successive struggle for its Nawabship. Okay, so the company drawn towards the affairs of Carnatic due to the struggles by whom? Nawabship. The English traders saw in this a great opportunity to directly interfere in the Indian politics. Okay. However, there was threat from two strong powers represented by Hyder Ali and the Nizam of Hyderabad. There is two strong threats from where? Represented by Hyder Ali and the Nizam of Hyderabad. First Mysore War. So the first Mysore War is in which year? 1767 to 69. In the third Carnatic War, Colonel Ford, while conducting the force from Bengal, captured Masulipatinam in which year? 1759. So first Mysore War is in which year? 1767 to 69. So which is very important. Okay, in the third Carnatic War, Colonel Ford, while conducting the force from Bengal, captured. So who captured Masulipatinam? Colonel Ford captured Masulipatinam in which year? 1759. This led to a treaty. Treaty means what? Treaty means it's an agreement, right? Treaty means agreement. That leads to an agreement with Salabad Jung, okay, who ceded the northern circles to the British, who stopped the northern circles to the British, where it is the district of, what are the area? The district of Ganjam, Visakhapatnam, Godavari, Krishna and Guntur. Okay, these are the northern circles. Okay, the English acquisition of the Northern Sarkar was legalized by the Mughal emperor. So the English acquisition of the Northern Sarkars, who legalized? The Mughal emperor. In which year? 1765. By which agreement? The Treaty of Allahabad. Which treaty? The Allahabad Treaty. Okay. In 1766, trouble arose when the English occupied those districts. Okay, so those districts were occupied by English. Then yet a treaty was signed with Nizam Ali, who accused in the session. So again it's an agreement between signed with who? Nizam Ali. Okay, in return, so what in the return agreement is, what is the return agreement? There is an agreement between two people. So he signed an agreement, English signed an agreement with the Nizam, while the Nizam signed an agreement against the British also. In return, the English promised. So what is the promise in between them? In return, the English promised to help out in case of any danger from the enemy. So but English also promised to the Nizam that they helped, if the enemies attack you, we also helped. Who gave the return agreement? English promised to the Nizam. Okay, this promise mean English help to the Nizam against whom? So the Nizam and the British East India Company provide an agreement against whom? Hyder Ali. Okay, they formed a treaty against Hyder Ali. This promise means English help to Nizam against whom? Hyder Ali. Here lays the genesis of the later subsidiary system. Then despite the treaty, Nizam came to an understanding with Hyder in 1767. And the British therefore declared a war against. So the what is it? The treaty stopped in which year? 1767, and they declared a war against Hyder. That war is called what? First Anglo-Mysore War, or the first Mysore War. So who became the first Mysore War is in 1767. So this is the war between the English and the Hyder. Okay, so the war between the English and Hyder in the year 1767 is called first Anglo-Mysore War, or the first Mysore War. Okay, an English army from Bombay captured Mangalore and other surrounding places on the west coast region. So English army from where? They Bombay. They captured Mangalore and the surrounding places on the west coast region. Okay, but Hyder succeeded in recovering both. But the Hyder, what they do? They succeed in recovering both of the territories. Okay, the English made an attempt to capture Bengal, but not a while. Okay, but he can't succeed. In 1768, Hyder pounced a Baramahal is in Salem district. Pounced a Baramahal and marched on Karur and then Erode and took over both by defeating Captain Nixon. Okay, so he defeating whom? Captain Nixon, and attacked and marched towards Karur and Erode. Meanwhile, his general Fazalullah Khan marched on Madurai and Tirunelveli. Marched means what? They moved along with his force, right? Hyder advanced to Tanjavur and from there to Kudalur. So he moved from where? Tanjavur and to Kudalur. Though Hyder did not want to stop his offensive against the English. So Hyder don't want to stop to fight against the British by there. The threat of the Maratha invasion forced him to negotiate peace with the English. Negotiate means what? Pechuvarthe. So the Maratha, they started to invasion. Invaded means what? Padayedukkirathu. Who invaded? Maratha. Forced him to negotiate peace with who? So they started to negotiate. They started to an understanding with who? English. Okay, so the Hyder and the English. Hyder and the British East India Company. The terms of the Treaty of Madras were as follows. So these are the terms of the Treaty of Madras. The conquered territories to be restored to each. So the conquered territories were restored to each. Then expecting Karur, which was to be retained by retained by Hyder. So who retained Karur? Hyder. The mutual assistance was to be rendered in wars of defense. Okay, so after all other they fight due to the defenses. This means the English were under obligation to help Hyder against the Maratha. So there is a treaty, there is a peace negotiation between the English and the Hyder to fight against whom? Maratha people, okay, the Marathas. But when assistance from the English was not forthcoming, Hyder turned against, but Hyder did not satisfied by the assistance by English, so Hyder again turned towards the English, means British East India Company, okay. Then next is about Hyder and the second Mysore War. So we studied about first Mysore War or the Anglo Mysore War. So next one is Hyder and the second Mysore War. Second Mysore War is on which year? 1780 to 84. So after the American War of Independence, France had signed a treaty of friendship with America. So after the American War of Independence, so who signed a treaty? France had signed a treaty of friendship. Which agreement? It's a friendship agreement with America. In which year? 1778. Okay, so treaty of friendship war with America in which year? Friendship with America in which year? 1778. And so Britain declared war against France. So the Britain declared war against France in a similar context of Spain reaching an agreement with America and thereby being dragged into the war against England. So they moved their war against again. They dragged their war against whom? England. So the war of England between Hyder and the England is in which year? 1779. The England remain isolated. Isolated means தனிமை ஆக்கப்பட்ட. The England remain isolated. So England is the only region. No one was there to help the England. Okay. In India, coming together for the Nizam and the Maratha supported the French aggravated. So in India, coming together of the Nizam and the Maratha supported who? The French aggravated. This situation further. This situation, Hyder Ali wanted to turn England's difficulty to its advantage and marched to Karnataka. So by this situation, Hyder Ali wanted to turn England's, okay, because England is the only England were isolated by some other country. So he wanted to take this advantage and they marched to Karnataka, okay. Then Colonel Bailey, who was to join the force led by Hector Munro, was badly wounded in the sudden attack by Hyder. So the Colonel Bailey, who was to join the force, so who joined the force led by Hector Munro. So who led the force? Hector Munro was badly wounded in sudden attack by Hyder, okay. This forced Munro to move Madras. So thus the Hector Munro, he moved to Madras, okay, because he was wounded by Hyder. Hyder captured Arcot in the year 1780, okay. Now on request from Madras government, Sir Ayercourt, the victor of the Battle of Bandavashi, was sent from Calcutta to besiege Madras by sea. So, okay, so now he got a request from the Madras government. So from whom? From Sir Ayercourt, the victor of the Battle of Bandavashi, was sent from Calcutta to where? Besiege Madras by sea. He want to move to Madras by seaway, okay. Having scored a victory against Hyder, Court proceeded to Pondicherry. So he got after that the Court proceeded to where? Pondicherry, after get the victor from Hyder. Hyder in the meantime overran the kingdom of Tanjavur. So in the meantime, Hyder occupied which kingdom? Tanjavur. Court reached Port Novo and won a decisive victory over Hyder. So the Court reached Port Novo and won a decisive victory over Hyder, okay. Hyder narrowly escaped from where? escaped from the capture. Colonel Berthwaite was thoroughly defeated near Kumbakonam by Hyder's son Tipu. So who was the son of Hyder? Tipu, and he takes the prisoner. Okay. Colonel Berthwaite was thoroughly defeated near where Kumbakonam by who? By Tipu, and the colonel was taken to the prisoner. In order to divert the attention of the Mysore Sultan, an expedition means what? Payanam. Okay, the expedition means moving with the march was undertaken by General Matthew to capture Mangalore. At the same time, General Matthew expedited to where? Mangalore, to capture the Mangalore. Expectedly, Tipu abandoned Karnataka and moved to West Coast, but Tipu moved to where? West Coast. The death of the Hyder due to cancer in 1782, the signing of the Treaty of Paris. So when Hyder died in 1782, what is it? There is a treaty was signed called Treaty of Paris. Treaty means what? Agreement was signed. In which year? 1783, at the end of American War of Independence. And the protracted siege of Mangalore enabled the English to aggressive against Tipu. So what is it? And the protracted siege of the Mangalore. So they occupied the Mangalore. So the Mangalore enabled the English to aggressive against who? Tipu. Okay, they started to move towards, after the death of the Hyder, the English, British East India Company, they started to move to fight with the Tipu. Karur and the Dindigul were captured by Colonel Lang. Colonel Fullerton seized Palghat and Coimbatore. Okay, but this advance on the Srirangapatnam was preempted by Tipu. So by this, Tipu preempted. He left from that place. Which place? Srirangapatnam, by Tipu, with his proposal for peace. He started to peace because he know anyway the English, they come and captured their kingdom also, their territory also. The Treaty of Mangalore was signed in March 1784. See, all these years are very important. These are the years that you are going to study in the timeline, so it is very important. Okay, the Treaty of Mangalore, in which year? March 1784, according to which both parties agreed to give up their conquest and release their prisoners. Okay, so they gave a agreement, because they released their prisoners. Means some of the kings were prisoned by both of the parties, so they were released. Then moving on to the Third Mysore War, which is on 1790 to 1792. In the meantime, Lord Cornwallis had become Governor General. So at the time of the Third Mysore War, who became the Governor General? Lord Cornwallis had become the Governor General. Cornwallis wanted to deal with Tipu in a revengeful manner. Okay, so he wanted revenge means in a very bad manner. Pagai. The two great southern powers, the Nizam of Hyderabad and the Maratha Confederacy, support the British and its allies. Okay, the two great southern powers, what is it? The Nizam of Hyderabad and the Maratha Confederacy. Kootamaipu. Confederacy means what? Kootamaipu. It supported the British and its allies. Allies means what? Friends. And the Kootali. The Nizam of Hyderabad supplied resources and even troops. Troops means what? Military. They supplied the resources. Resources means what? The military things. The gun and all those things. And even troops. Troops means what? The people. The soldiers. For the British to war against whom? Tipu. The Marathas, who had signed the Treaty of Salbai with the English after the first Anglo-Maratha War in which year? 1782, also joined the British. The British position was thus greatly strengthened. So thus the position of the British were greatly strengthened. Tipu sent an embassy to Constantinople. So Tipu sent his embassy to where Constantinople, and another in 1787 to where Paris. These diplomatic efforts of Tipu were intended to strengthen him against the English. The French monarch means what? King. The French monarch Louis 16 was hospitable but could give only vague promises of support to the Sultan. Okay, so the Tipu's attack on Travancore, which was an ally of the British, and his capture of Cranganore, that is Kodungalur, now it is known as Kodungalur, was treated as a declaration of the war on company agreement. Hence the third Anglo-Mysore war broke out. Okay, when the third Anglo-Mysore war broke out, when the Tipu attacked the Travancore, means it's a part of the Kerala. Okay, Travancore, which company with British, means ally of the British, and his capture of where Kodungalur, this Cranganore, was treated on the declaration on the war of company government. Okay, so their declaration war for which whom? For they declared the war for company government. Okay, that is the Anglo Third Mysore War broke out. The colonel hardly defeated Tipu's general Hussain Ali at where Calicut. Okay, so he defeated the Tipu's general Hussain Ali. Who was the Tipu's general? Hussain Ali at where Calicut. In response, Tipu captured Tiruvannamalai. So Tipu captured where? Tiruvannamalai. His effort to get the support of French Pondicherry governor did not materialize. Okay, the crown Wallis himself marched from Vellore and reached Bangalore. So the crown Wallis, he marched from the Vellore and he reached Bangalore. He was encountered. Encountered means what? He was killed. Okay, encountered Tipu and defeated him near Srirangapatnam. He encountered, who encountered Crown Wallis? Encountered Tipu and he defeated him near Srirangapatnam. But the lack of provision compelled Crown Wallis to retreat. At this juncture, the Marathas helped the British in supplying the required provision. So the lack of provision compelled Crown Wallis to retreat, because lack of provision means what? The lack of resources. There is a lack of troop and the lack of the military things, or military resources. There is no sufficient weapons to fight against the British. The lack of provisions compelled Crown Wallis to retreat. So at this point, the Maratha helped the British. So who helped the British? Maratha helped the British. So he supplied the required provisions. Means what? He supplied the required troops and the military equipments. Okay, means the gun and the weapons. Okay, thus the reinforced army of the English marched on Srirangapatnam against and besieged it. Then, unable to withstand onslaught of the British force, Tipu offered peace and accepted the term imposed by Crown Wallis. So, according to the Treaty of Srirangapatnam, the Tipu was to give up half of his dominions, pay 3 crore of rupees as indemnity, and the pledge 2 of his sons as hostage. So in this Treaty of Srirangapatnam, the Tipu was given up the half of his dominion. So half of his dominion means what? He was to give half of his dominion, Aatchi Pagudi, he want to given in this treaty. Okay, that is in the treaty. He want to given half of his dominion, ஆட்சி பகுதியோட பகுதியை he want to give to the British, okay, and pay 3 crore of rupees as indemnity. How many rupee? 3 crore rupees as indemnity means what? போர் இழப்பீடு, okay, போர் இழப்பீடு. How many rupees he want to give us indemnity? 3 crore rupee, and pledge 2 of his sons as hostage. Hostage means what? பிணை கைதிகளாக, ஓகே, பிணை கைதிகளாக he want to give 2 of his son. Tipu want to give 2 of his sons as hostage. The allies Maratha and the British were given equal shares of the indemnity. So their allies, Tipu's allies means Tipuoda கூட்டாளி, who Maratha and the British, they also want to give equal share of the indemnity, equal share of போர் இழப்பீடு, and ceded the territory. He want to move from that territory. The English got Malabar, Dindigul and Barmahal. So thus English what they got? Malabar, Dindigul and Barmahal. Tipu lost. Tipu எதெல்லாம் இழந்தது? Tipu lost Coorg, that is Kudagu, whose Raja became the feudatory to the company. Okay, he lost Kudagu. So the Raja of the Kudagu he was the feudatory to the company. Then Tipu's power was greatly reduced. The power of the Tipu was reduced, and after their stay at Madras and hostage, the boys returned to Srirangapatnam. They returned, their pinai kaidhigalaga irundha boys, their son, they returned to where? Srirangapatnam. They sent their boys to Srirangapatnam. 29 May 1794, when their father has paid all the due to the English. Once the father gave all the amount, the boys were sent back to the Tipu. Okay, the Tipu could hardly forget his humiliation and the heavy territorial and the monetary losses suffered. So he hardly forget. He tried to forget all the things he lost in the war. Okay. The Mysore king Chamaraja IX died in 1796. Okay, the Mysore king Chamaraja IX died in which year? 1796. The Tipu's resolved not to observe the formality of appoint a king. Okay, he don't want to appoint a king. Formality he don't want to appoint a king. Synchronizing with this resolve came the announcement of the French colonial government of Mauritius General Malartic that after obtaining the French help he would declare war on English. Okay, then in July 1798, Tipu corresponded with the French Directory and later with the Napoleon, and his easiness in his correspondence with Wellesley led to the declaration of war against what? Tipu. Okay, so in 1798 what happened? The Tipu corresponded with the French Directory. So he corresponded with the French directly and later with whom? Napoleon and his. So by this treaty, the Wellesley again they started declared a war against Tipu. Okay, then in the Fourth Mysore War in 1799, Tipu made all out effort to strengthen his military. So in the Fourth Mysore War in 1799, in this Fourth Mysore War, Tipu give out all the strength. What strength? Military strength, financial strength. Okay, so in 1796, Tipu sent emissaries to Paris again. Though he sent his he sent his emissaries to where? Paris again. Emissary means what? Doodargal. Okay, emissaries to Paris again. In 1797, he received a French emissary. From the French, he got a dood means it's a message. Okay, the person who sent the messages, emissary to confirm French support from. So what message he get? That he confirm a French support from Mauritius. Okay, a Jacobin club was started in Srirangapatnam, and the flag of the French Republic was hoisted. So he started a club and the flag of the French Republic was started to mark the cordiality established between the French and the Sultan of Mysore. Okay, means what? Cordiality means ആദരവ്. Okay, means the between the French and the Sultan of Mysore. Then irked by Tipu's alliance with the French Wellesley, now the new Governor General insisted on a standing army at Mysore under the subsidiary system. Tipu turned down Wellesley's proposal and the British declared the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War in 1799. So the British declared the Anglo-Mysore War in which year? 4th Anglo-Mysore War in which year? 1799. Okay, General David Baird stormed Srirangapattinam. They moved against Srirangapattinam. Tipu's offer of peace was rejected, and in the eventual battle Tipu was wounded. So in the battle, Fourth Anglo-Mysore War battle, the Tipu was wounded and soon after shot dead by European soldiers. He was died in the Fourth Mysore War, Anglo-Mysore War. Why? How? The Tipu was wounded and shot. Shot means what? Shoot. Shoot or past tense is shot. So he was shot dead by a European soldier. Okay. So the elimination of the Tipu and the restoration of the old Wadayar dynasty to the Mysore kingdom marked the real beginning of the company rule in South India. Though now the Wadayar kingdom, everything was what? Elimination of Tipu and the restoration of old Wadayar dynasty to the Mysore kingdom marked the beginning of what? Company rule. So the company rule started in South India. Son of the slain Tipu were interned first at Vellore and later, so first he was at Vellore, son of the Tipu was, and after the Vellore revolt of 1806 he shifted to where? Calcutta. Thus ended the valiant fight of Mysore Sultan against the British. Now the Mysore kings was defeated and again the British only won the battle. Okay. So today up to this is enough. So what is it? You have to find 20, fill up the blanks out of this. Okay. So out of the lesson which I taught. So what was the study portion? What is the study portion? Yeah, I hope you have finished up to unit 5. Yes. So today you study the unit 6. Okay. Finished it well. Okay. Just one lesson, unit 6, and you have to write the homework to find 20 fill-ups, meaningful fill-ups out of this. Okay. And study the lesson 6. Okay. Finish all your works, do your works properly, stay safe, and let us meet in the next class. We will meet.